Welcome to ZoomInData. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining Azure Logic Apps series. In this session, titled Logic Apps for Real-Time IoT and Edge Orchestration, Azure IoT plus Arc, we will cover how Logic Apps integrates with Azure IoT Hub, IoT Edge, and Event Grid for real-time device orchestration. Edge processing patterns using Azure Arc-enabled Logic Apps. Real-time event routing, anomaly detection, predictive maintenance handoff, and offline first resilience. Step-by-step demo of an end-to-end IoT workflow, 2026 edition. Best practices for scale, security, latency, and cost at device scale. This topic is critical for manufacturing, smart cities, logistics, energy, and any industry deploying thousands or millions of connected devices. If you find this content valuable, please subscribe to ZoomInData and enable notifications to stay updated with the full series. Let us begin. Why is Azure Logic Apps a strong choice for real-time IoT orchestration? Native integration with Azure IoT Hub, device-to-cloud messages, twin changes, direct methods. Event grid system topics for IoT events, device created, telemetry, device twin changed. Low-code visual designer plus high-scale serverless execution. Hybrid, edge support via Azure Arc plus IoT Edge for local processing. How does Logic Apps connect to Azure IoT Hub? Trigger. When a device sends telemetry, IoT Hub connector, or when an IoT Hub event occurs, event grid system topic. Actions. Send cloud to device message, invoke direct method, update device twin. Authentication. Managed identity, recommended, or IoT Hub shared access policy. What IoT Hub events trigger Logic Apps workflows? Device telemetry, real-time sensor data, device twin changed, configuration or reported properties update, device created, device deleted, lifecycle events, job completed, job cancelled, batch operations. All routed via event grid system topic for low latency push. How do you process high-volume IoT telemetry in Logic Apps? Use Event Grid plus split onto batch telemetry arrays into parallel workflow instances. Enable concurrency in for each loops, limit 20 to 50, for per device processing. Use stateless workflows for fire and forget, no persistence overhead. Aggregate data, compose plus batch to storage, to avoid per-message cost explosion. What is Azure IoT Edge and how does it integrate with Arc-enabled Logic Apps? IoT Edge runs modules, containers, on edge devices for local compute. Arc-enabled Logic Apps deploys standard workflows as edge modules on IoT edge devices. Local execution reduces latency and cloud bandwidth. Results forwarded to IoT Hub when connected. Step by step. How do you deploy Logic Apps to an IoT edge device via Azure Arc? Onboard IoT edge device to Azure Arc, Azure Portal. Azure Arc, IoT Edge devices. Install Logic Apps extension on IoT Edge runtime, Helm or Manifest. Create standard Logic app. Choose custom location, Arc-enabled IoT Edge device. Deploy workflow, runs locally, syncs state, results to cloud when online. How do you implement offline first resilience on IoT Edge? Use local storage, SQLite, local files, for state when disconnected. Queue messages locally, IoT Edge message store. Forward on reconnect. Stateful workflows persist locally. Resume on reconnect. Add timeout plus fallback logic, e.g., local alert on long disconnect. Describe a real-time predictive maintenance IoT pattern with Logic Apps. IoT Edge module sends telemetry to IoT Hub. Event grid topic. Logic Apps trigger. Device telemetry event. Filter high-risk devices. Call Azure ML endpoint for anomaly scoring. If high, escalate to maintenance agent. Update device twin, cloud, plus send Teams alert to field engineer. How do you handle IoT device twin synchronization with Logic Apps? Trigger. Device twin changed event via event grid. Actions. Get updated twin. Compare desired versus reported. Call direct method to reconcile. Use for configuration push. Example. Update firmware threshold and status reporting. What security best practices apply to IoT plus Logic Apps integrations? Use X509 certificates or symmetric keys for device auth to IoT Hub. Managed identities for Logic Apps right pointing arrow IoT Hub and downstream services. Private endpoints for IoT Hub and Logic Apps standard. Device provisioning service, DPS, for secure enrollment at scale. How do you scale Logic Apps for millions of IoT devices? Shard workflows by device group, region, multiple Logic Apps instances. Use event grid fan-out plus split-on for parallel processing. Standard model with auto-scaling based on CPU, telemetry volume. Aggregate telemetry at edge, IoT Edge module. Reduce cloud messages. How do you monitor IoT plus Logic Apps at scale? IoT Hub metrics, messages sent, received, device connectivity. Logic Apps, run history plus Azure Monitor, P99 latency, failures. Log analytics query, correlate device ID with workflow run ID. Power by dashboard, device health, alert rate, maintenance predictions. What is the cost impact of IoT scale Logic Apps workflows? Consumption. High if polling or per message processing. Expensive. Standard. Fixed capacity plus connector calls. More predictable at scale. Edge processing. ARC. IoT Edge. Reduces cloud execution significantly. How do you implement anomaly detection handoff to agents? IoT Edge module detects threshold breach. Sends urgent telemetry. Logic Apps trigger. Calls Azure OpenAI anomaly agent. Escalates to supervisor agent. Supervisor decides. Auto remediate. Direct method. Or alert human. How do you handle IoT device shadow, twin conflicts? Logic Apps subscribes to twin change events. Compare desired versus reported. Reconcile with direct method call. Use optimistic concurrency, ETAG, to avoid overwrites. Log conflicts. Alert on repeated mismatches. What offline first patterns are best for IoT Edge Logic Apps? Local state persistence, SQLite or local files, for workflows. Queue messages locally. Sync on reconnect, IoT Edge store and forward. Graceful degradation, local decisions when cloud disconnected. Reconciliation workflow on reconnect to resolve conflicts. How do you secure Edge deployed Logic Apps? Device-level certificates via IoT Edge provisioning. Managed identity proxied through ARC for Azure calls. Network policies on IoT edge to restrict module communication. Encrypt local storage and queues. How do you test IoT plus Logic Apps workflows at scale? Azure IoT device simulation for 1K 10K virtual devices. Load test with real telemetry volume to IoT hub. Chaos test. Disconnect, reconnect devices, inject bad data. Validate edge versus cloud execution consistency. What are the latest IoT plus Logic Apps enhancements? 2026. Native Arc-enabled IoT edge support for standard workflows. Event grid system topics optimized for high-volume IoT telemetry. Built-in anomaly detection actions, preview. Lower latency device twin sync via Arc. Why is IoT plus edge orchestration knowledge important in interviews? Interviewers ask, how would you process telemetry from 100,000 devices in real time? Tests hybrid understanding, scale, resilience, and latency trade-offs. Critical for manufacturing, smart cities, energy, logistics roles. What final recommendation would you give for IoT orchestration with Logic Apps? Process at edge, IoT edge plus Arc, for latency critical or bandwidth limited scenarios. Use Event Grid for cloud fan-out and real-time reactivity. Always design for offline first plus reconciliation on reconnect. Monitor end-to-end, device, edge, cloud, with Azure Monitor. Thank you for watching this detailed session on real-time IoT and edge orchestration with Azure Logic Apps, IoT Hub, and Azure Arc. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to ZoomInData. More advanced Azure Logic Apps content is coming soon. Stay connected and keep learning. See you in the next video.